He begged them to stop. His face was bleeding, hands zip-tied behind his back, lying face down in the gravel outside his own apartment complex. 3 officers stood over him, one with a boot on his neck, another filming with a body cam he didn't know was live. This one's slippery. Always think they're lawyers or something, someone laughed. They didn't know his daughter was watching from the window. They didn't know his real name. They didn't know who he really was yet. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. Get your hands where I can see him, shouted the officer, stepping out of the cruiser, gun already unholstered. It was barely 7:12 a.m. Jamal Henderson had just stepped out of his apartment in Inglewood, California, keys in one hand, trash bag in the other. He blinked, startled by the voice. "I live here," he said carefully. "Just taking out the trash. Do I look like I asked for your address?" "Face the car." "Now." Jamal hesitated. The cop, white, tall, crew cut, was already circling him like a predator. Another unit screeched to a stop behind. Second officer. Latina. Silent, but her baton was out. Jamal turned slowly, dropping the trash. "What's this about?" The first officer pressed him forward, slamming his chest into the hood. "You fit the description," he muttered. Jamal didn't argue. He'd heard this line before. Every time it meant the same thing. It wasn't about what he'd done. It was about what he looked like. From the apartment window, his 11-year-old daughter, Isla, watched, eyes wide, mouth trembling. "Daddy?" she whispered behind the glass. Inside, his wife tried dialing. No answer. 911 connected her to a different county. She called back. Then again. Downstairs, they zip-tied Jamal's wrists and shoved him into the back seat. "What's your real name, huh? Not Jamal, I bet." The second officer glanced at the cruiser laptop. "Nothing's coming up. Clean record." "Yeah, they know how to fake those now. Let's see what else he's hiding." They didn't read him his rights. No reason to. Not yet. By the time they reached the station, Jamal's cheek was split from being shoved onto the concrete near booking. He hadn't said a word. Not when they tore his wallet apart. Not when they laughed about his golden boy name. Not even when one of them took a photo of his cuffed body for records. But deep down, something clicked into place. Not fear. Not anger. Strategy. Because they were about to find out who they'd just arrested and why they should have checked twice. The holding cell smelled of bleach and metal. Jamal sat on the bench, wrist sore, fingers numb from the zip ties. The fluorescent lights above flickered once, then buzzed. He wasn't offered water. Not a phone call. Not a name. He looked up when the door clanked open. The officer from earlier, the tall one, stepped inside with a clipboard. Still nothing in the system. "Weird, huh?" he said, smirking. Jamal didn't respond. "You some kind of ghost?" "No license, no priors, no warrants." "But you live in that building?" The officer leaned in close. "We've had a lot of break-ins in that area lately. Real upscale for a guy like you. Where'd you get the rent money?" Jamal's eyes narrowed. "From my job." "Yeah? What do you do, TikTok influencer?" The door opened again. The female officer entered, whispering something into the tall one's ear. His face shifted. "Call came in from a woman. Says you're her husband. Got a little girl crying. Said her daddy didn't come back from taking out the trash." "You got a family?" Jamal gave him a cold stare. "You didn't ask." The officer chuckled. "Well, if you're so clean, maybe you should help us figure out what's going on." "Name? Date of birth?" Jamal remained silent. He wasn't going to make this easy for them. Not after what they'd done. "I want a lawyer." The smirk faded. "Cute. Let's see if one shows up." 3 hours passed. No charges. No processing. No explanation. A different officer came in and asked for a signature on an intake form. Jamal refused. "Without a lawyer, I'm not signing anything." The officer left without another word. At 3:42 p.m., something changed. A plainclothes man entered the cell. White shirt, dark tie. No name tag. "You Jamal Henderson?" "Who's asking?" "Let's talk outside." Jamal didn't move. "Am I under arrest?" The man sighed. "Not officially. But you're not free to go either." "Then I'm not moving," Jamal said, his voice calm, flat. There was a long pause. The man checked his phone, mumbled something, then stepped out. For the first time that day, Jamal allowed his breathing to deepen. His silence had bought him something, not power yet, but control. They didn't know who he was, and they were scared to find out. Back at home, Alice sat curled under the window, still holding the plastic doll her father had bought her last week. The trash bag was still outside, split open by the curb. A neighbor walked past it and didn't even look twice. Inside the cell, Jamal closed his eyes and started counting backward from 100. A technique from years ago. Years they didn't know he had. This wasn't the first time someone underestimated him, but it would be the last time someone did it without consequence. The knock on the precinct door was firm, 3 taps, slow and deliberate. Sergeant Wexler opened it. A tall black man in a charcoal trench coat stepped inside. Sharp shoes, sharper eyes. "I'm here for Jamal Henderson." Wexler blinked. "You're with who exactly?" "You don't need to know that. He's not charged, correct?" "That's correct." "Then you're holding a U.S. citizen without cause." "I'll ask one last time. Where is Mr. Henderson?" The sergeant hesitated. "Hold on. Let me check." He moved quickly now. The weight of that man's presence made him uneasy. In the back office, 2 junior officers hovered over Jamal's intake file, still blank. No priors. No gang ties. No outstanding anything. One of them whispered, "That guy, he just flashed a federal badge." "I didn't see which agency." The other shrugged. "We should just cut the guy loose. I don't want this heat." Meanwhile, Jamal sat motionless. But his ears were tuned like radar. Steps. Voices. He heard the shift in tone. Something was cracking. A few minutes later, the door opened again. The same officer from earlier, the one with the baton, entered, her face unreadable. "You're being released," she said quietly. "Am I being charged?" Jamal asked. "No." "Then I want it in writing. And I want the names of every officer who touched me." She looked startled. "Sir, names. Or I don't move." There was a pause. Then, for the first time, she spoke to him like a person. "I'll get the paperwork. Please just wait here." Jamal looked up at her. "I've been waiting all day." 10 minutes later, he walked out of the precinct lobby. No cuffs. No escort. Just a folder in his hand and a dull ache in his jaw. The man in the trench coat was waiting by the glass doors. "You handled it right," he said softly. Jamal glanced sideways. "You called them, didn't you?" "I had to. Once your name pinged internal clearance databases, it set off an alert. They weren't supposed to detain you." Jamal stepped into the sun. "They didn't ask who I was. They just saw what I looked like." The man nodded. "And now we have it documented. All of it." Jamal stopped. "Is the footage secure?" "Every second. Body cams. Internal cams. Even the audio from holding. We have it all." Jamal didn't smile. He didn't even breathe easier. He just whispered, "Good." That night, back home, Ala refused to let go of her father. He held her in silence while his wife sat at the edge of the couch, staring at the folder. Inside, copies of every record, timestamp, and printed screenshots from internal logs. But it was the last item that made her speak. "You're really going to file it?" Jamal's voice was clear. "I'm going to bury them." Jamal didn't sleep that night. He sat in the kitchen with the lights off, phone in hand, scrolling through badge numbers. He'd memorized them when they grabbed his wrists. Badge 4152. 3098, 7603. They hadn't expected him to be watching. At 7:30 a.m., he called Internal Affairs. "Please hold. Your call is important to us." He waited 32 minutes before hanging up. He tried again. This time, the line rang once and dropped. Next, he called the Civilian Review Board. "Sorry, sir. We're experiencing delays. You can submit your complaint online." He did. Attached all the files. The timestamps. The holding records. He named each officer, logged every quote he remembered. In the section marked Desired Outcome, he wrote one word. Accountability. At 11:02 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. "Mr. Henderson?" "Speaking. This is Sergeant Claiborne from West Division. We received a copy of your complaint. I'd like to meet in person, if possible." "When?" Jamal asked. "Right away. My office." Jamal agreed. When he arrived, he wore a dark gray sweater, plain jeans, and clean shoes. No briefcase. No folder. Just presence. The front desk officer asked for ID. Jamal paused, then handed over his driver's license. "Here for Claiborne." He waited in the lobby 5 minutes, then 10. Officers walked past, some glancing at him, some ignoring him entirely. A white rookie whispered something to a partner and laughed. Jamal didn't move. Finally, a tall black man in plain uniform walked out. "Mr. Henderson?" "Yes. I'm Claiborne. Let's talk inside." In the office, the tone changed. "I read your file," Claiborne began. "I know who you are." "They didn't. That makes this worse." Jamal's jaw flexed. "What would they have done if I weren't who I am?" "Probably the same thing." So why are you calling me now? Because the system doesn't like when someone breaks protocol in the wrong direction. He slid a folder across the desk. Officer McNally has 6 prior complaints. Most dropped. Officer Reyes has 3 use of force violations. Nothing ever stuck. Jamal opened the folder. Grainy photos. Reports with blacked out lines. Pages stamped confidential. These are internal, Jamal said. Not anymore, Claiborne replied. Why are you giving this to me? Claiborne leaned forward. Because you're not just a victim. And because they messed with the wrong man. Jamal stood. You know they'll try to bury this. Let them try, Claiborne said. That night, Jamal emailed every contact he had, legal, private, federal. No public posts. No hashtags. Just files. Clean, precise, indisputable. But when he called back internal affairs the next morning, something new happened. The line didn't ring. It was disconnected. At 8:13 a.m., Jamal received a call from Human Resources. Mr. Henderson, we've received some questions regarding your credentials. He paused. Excuse me? Your background check has raised inconsistencies. Until they're cleared, you'll be placed on administrative review. I've worked here 6 years. There's never been a single complaint. This is procedural, sir. They hung up without letting him respond. By 9:40 a.m., his work email was locked. His employee badge no longer opened the parking structure. At 10:05, his name vanished from the internal directory. They weren't apologizing. They were erasing him. Jamal sat in his car for a long time, staring at the dash. His hands didn't shake. His breathing stayed even, but his pulse was louder than traffic. He turned the key and drove. Not home. Downtown. To the federal building. Inside, he passed through security without a word. The clerk at the desk looked up. Can I help you? I need to speak to someone from the Inspector General's office. Do you have an appointment? No. Then I'm afraid. Tell them Jamal L. Henderson is here. She paused. Henderson. As Anu. Yes. Tell them now. 10 minutes later, a suited man appeared and opened a side door. Follow me. In a secure conference room, the man locked the door and turned. You're making a lot of noise. They put a boot on my neck, Jamal replied. I haven't made any noise yet. The agent glanced at the folder in his hand. IA servers were wiped last night. Complaints database reset. Internal logs purged. Jamal exhaled slowly. They're covering it. Not just covering it. Deleting you. Jamal leaned forward. Then we go higher. The agent hesitated. If you do this, they'll come for everything. They already did. Back home, Ala found her father's name missing from her school contact forms. Her mother's phone showed an unknown error when trying to log into their joint insurance portal. The gas bill arrived with Jamal's name crossed out. He wasn't being ignored. He was being erased. That night, he sat on the edge of the bed, watching his daughter sleep. His wife sat beside him. What if we leave? Just drop it and go? And then what? We start over. Somewhere smaller. Jamal shook his head. They want me to disappear. That's the only win they're hoping for. She touched his arm. Then make sure they never get it. At 6:17 a.m., Jamal stood in front of the mirror and adjusted his collar. No suit. No tie. Just a fitted black shirt and a worn leather watch. His wife entered the room quietly. You ready? Not yet, he said. But they are. On the kitchen table sat a single item, a silver flash drive. Inside it, not just his arrest footage. Not just body cam data. But something else. Jamal hadn't always been in consulting. 10 years ago, he worked inside the Department of Justice. Not as a secretary. Not as a clerk. He was the one who wrote the Federal Compliance Manual for field investigations into civil rights violations. He didn't study the law. He built the protocols. They didn't just mess with the wrong man. They messed with the author. By 8 a.m., he was at the office of District Counsel Leclerc, the state's lead compliance officer. The receptionist didn't even ask for his name. She saw the folder and waved him through. Inside the conference room, Leclerc looked up from his coffee. Heard you've had an interesting week. It's about to get more interesting, Jamal said. He plugged in the drive. Footage loaded. Timestamped. Synced with internal radio logs. Matched to precinct entry swipes and voice ID records. How the hell did you get all this? Leclerc asked. I designed the audit trail. You can't delete what you don't know exists. Jamal opened a second file, a cross-referenced list of officer records with administrative redactions reversed. These 3 have 7 internal complaints between them. Suppressed, not dismissed. Leclerc leaned back. Jesus. I want an official investigation opened within 48 hours, Jamal said. If not, I'll file under Section 242. Federal criminal liability for officers acting under color of law. Leclerc narrowed his eyes. You're not bluffing. I never bluff. He stood. I'll expect confirmation by end of day. As Jamal walked out, Leclerc whispered. Who are you really? Jamal paused. I'm the guy they thought wouldn't fight back. That evening, an email hit 5 inboxes inside the Department of Public Safety. Subject line, Notice of Pattern and Practice Review initiated. Sender, Federal Civil Rights Division. The officers didn't know yet, but the review had started. And this time, Jamal wasn't the only one watching. At 9:02 a.m., a courier entered the West Division precinct with 3 sealed envelopes. He handed one to the front desk, one to Internal Affairs, and one directly to Captain Rivas. The return address read, U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division, Special Investigations Unit. Inside, a formal declaration. You are hereby notified that your department is under active federal review for constitutional violations under Title 42 U.S. Code Section 14141. Captain Rivas read it twice. Then he looked up, face pale. Who the hell is Jamal Henderson? At that exact moment, Jamal walked into a private meeting room across the city. On the other side of the table sat 2 attorneys, one from a federal oversight NGO, the other from a firm known for taking on police unions. He handed them both folders. I don't want money. I don't want airtime. The civil attorney nodded. What do you want? Jamal looked at her, voice calm. I want a courtroom. And I want them under oath. By noon, subpoenas had started drafting. Meanwhile, Officer McNally logged into the precinct system and was denied access. His credentials were revoked without warning. He slammed his keyboard. What is this? No one answered. Across the city, Officer Reyes found her name suddenly flagged on the DOJ exclusion list. That meant she could no longer qualify for federal task force assignments. Her inbox filled with notices. And the rookie, the one who had laughed in the lobby, received a letter, too. It wasn't about punishment. It was about being listed as a secondary witness. The system that had always protected them was now indexing them, one by one. Back at home, Jamal prepared a different kind of document. He opened a private server and uploaded everything: audio clips, transcripts, redacted memos, annotated laws. He titled the folder, For My Daughter, in case they silence me. Then he encrypted it. Twice. That night, he sat with Isla as she did her homework. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure. Why are people afraid of you now? Jamal paused, then smiled gently. Because I stopped playing the role they gave me. And somewhere in the city, a police captain read Jamal's federal file for the first time. His eyes stopped on one line. Clearance level, Tier 4. Internal DOJ authority. Non-disclosure protocol active. He leaned back in his chair and whispered. We picked the wrong man. It started with silence. Not official denials. Not press conferences. Just quiet reassignments. Officer McNally didn't show up for roll call. By noon, his nameplate was removed from his locker. His desk was cleared by someone else. Officer Reyes filed a medical leave request. Stress, she claimed. But it was the investigation that broke her. She knew the audit would find the report she altered, the one that omitted her name from Jamal's intake log. The rookie officer, Diaz, tried to play dumb. I didn't do anything, he said. Internal Affairs didn't care. He was listed as a silent bystander, a status that now had consequences. At the federal building, Jamal sat before a monitor showing precinct footage, not just of his arrest, but of the moments afterward. The officers laughing. The clerk joking. The silence in the room when someone mentioned his name aloud. He turned to the agent beside him. I want every bystander logged. Not just the ones who touched me. That's not standard protocol. Then change it. Meanwhile, back in the West Division, Captain Rivas opened a sealed envelope from the DOJ. Inside, a list of required resignations. 3 names. 2 lieutenants. 1 commander. No negotiations. Across the city, Jamal's employer received an ethics warning from the Federal Compliance Bureau. Firing Jamal without due process while under review of civil rights retaliation would cost them. So they reversed it, reinstated his access, sent a formal apology. He ignored it. He wasn't going back. That chapter was closed. Instead, he spent the next 48 hours building a single document, 114 pages, indexed, annotated, timestamped. Title: Precedent Package for Civil Pattern Violation Prosecution, Henderson v. West Division. It was submitted to the DOJ on Monday. That night, someone knocked on Jamal's door. Not a threat. A man in uniform. Nervous. A clipboard in hand. Mr. Henderson? I used to work under Captain Rivas. I'm not here officially. Then why are you here? Jamal asked. The man shifted. Because everything you're doing? It's working. And not all of us want to be part of this anymore. Jamal studied him in silence. Then slowly said, I don't need allies. I need witnesses. The man nodded. I can be that. As he left, Jamal turned to his wife in the hallway. It's happening, he said. She looked at him. Then don't stop. Not now. They tried to postpone it twice. The city attorney filed motions. The union objected. But nothing stopped the clock. At 10 a.m. sharp, deposition began in room 12C of the federal courthouse. Jamal walked in alone. No entourage. No camera crew. Just a dark blue folder in his hand and a calm, surgical presence in his step. Across the table sat 4 people. A city legal rep. 2 internal auditors. And Officer McNally. He looked smaller now. His eyes darted toward the wall clock, then back to the empty chair beside him. His union rep hadn't shown. She'd withdrawn that morning. The stenographer clicked her pen. State your full name, please. Jamal Langston Henderson. Occupation? Civil rights compliance consultant. Former federal policy architect. McNally blinked. That hadn't been in the file they showed him. The questioning began. Mr. Henderson, can you describe the circumstances of your detention? Jamal opened the folder. Page 2, timestamp 7 hours, 13 minutes, and 42 seconds. Officer McNally approaches without identifying himself. No probable cause cited. No Miranda rights read. Page 4 shows the first physical contact, unprovoked. Page 6 is when the zip tie was applied. You compiled this yourself? I designed the logging system. Their body cams recorded on a dual-channel buffer. They didn't know the backup survived. The city rep cleared his throat. Mr. Henderson, are you seeking financial damages? No. Then what's the purpose of this deposition? Jamal looked directly at McNally. Consequence. The room went still. McNally opened his mouth, but Jamal cut him off. Page 11 contains a statement you made, sir. This one's slippery. Thinks he's a lawyer or something. Do you deny saying that? I don't remember. Then let me refresh you. Jamal pressed play. The audio crackled, but the voice was clear. McNally's. The city rep stood. We request this portion be stricken. Denied, said the federal monitor. Continue. Jamal closed the folder. I'm not just building a case. I'm building a model. One that proves what happens when silent men are forced to listen to their own words. Outside the room, another officer waited. The same one who came to Jamal's house. He held a sealed envelope, a signed affidavit. Inside, names, details, time cards, evidence of coordinated log deletions. The first crack had opened. By 5:42 p.m., 3 precinct phones had been disconnected. An internal memo was leaked. Subject line: prepare for formal indictment review. That night, Jamal sat alone at his desk, staring at a document he hadn't opened in years. His resignation letter from the Department of Justice, dated 5 years earlier. He never sent it. He had just written it and walked away. But now he realized something. He had never truly left. Monday, 8:01 a.m. The air outside West Division Precinct felt different. No sirens. No idle chatter. Only stillness. Jamal stood on the steps alone. He wasn't here for protest. He wasn't here for closure. He was here for accountability. In his hand, one final document. A motion for formal deposition escalation, signed by 2 federal attorneys and verified by the Civil Rights Oversight Division. He walked past the front desk. The officer looked up, recognized him, and stood without a word. Down the corridor, a familiar voice echoed. Sir, you can't go in there. But Jamal already had. Captain Rivas turned from the window, caught off guard. You? No more silence, Jamal said, laying the document on the table. What is this? Your exit. You can take it voluntarily. Or wait for the review board to push it through. Rivas didn't answer. He didn't have to. His eyes dropped. His shoulders sank. Behind him, a monitor flickered. On the screen, Jamal's arrest footage, now part of DOJ training curriculum. The file name? Pattern violation case #2378. H. Training use only. Rivas sat slowly, rubbing his eyes. You could have destroyed us with one press conference. Why didn't you? Jamal stepped back. Because I wasn't here to destroy you. I was here to expose you. He turned and walked out. No applause. No cameras. Just the sound of worn shoes on tile. Back home, Ala ran to him at the door. Did you win? She asked. He knelt beside her. No. I ended it. That's better. His wife stood nearby. It's over? For me, yes. He didn't say what he really meant. That he was tired. That every part of this fight had aged him. That no one wins in a war like this. That just survive it clean. The next morning, he opened his laptop and clicked on a single file. Case template. Civil suppression violation. Individual path. He uploaded it. No names. No faces. Just tools. Because now others would come. And they wouldn't be alone. Jamal stepped outside, sunlight breaking across his face. For the first time in weeks, he didn't flinch when a siren echoed 2 blocks away. He walked calmly to the curb, lifted the lid of the trash bin, and tossed something inside. A crumpled police report. Then he walked away, and never looked back. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire action and hope.